welcome to Getting to Good Enough, a podcast to help you let go of perfectionism so you could do more of what you love. I'm Shannon Wilkinson, a life coach in Portland, Oregon. I'm a recovering perfectionist who's getting better at good enough.
And I'm Janine Adams, a certified professional organizer in St. Louis, Missouri, and I'm lucky enough to be naturally good at good enough.
And today we're talking about managing mistakes when you make them.
Well, I have a newsletter. It goes out to about 2,000 people, and anybody who's interested, we'll put a link to it in the show notes. It's about organizing, right? And I pass along tips and stuff, and I have been buying stamps for, postage stamps from a place called Stamps Marketplace that I originally found on Etsy, because I write all these postcards to voters, and they were discounted. I thought, this is great. I got to pass this along. So I did. And I've used them. I probably placed a half dozen orders, and they always come, and everything seems okay. Mm-hmm. And so I passed along that tip and got actually some very nice feedback from people who were grateful for the tip. And then I got a very nice email from a reader who said, Janine, I think those are counterfeit stamps. And here's why. It was so nice of her, because she not only said that, but she gave me some links, which, including one from the postal inspection people who basically say, if it's a really discounted stamps, they're counterfeit. We don't discount stamps. If you don't know the person you're buying it from, don't buy it. And so I thought, oh, geez, at least these few people who emailed me had already spent money on stamps from this place.
Right.
What do I do?
And what did you end up doing?
Well, I read the links that the person sent me and agreed that they're probably counterfeit stamps. Mm-hmm. And so I send out a simple email to my list, the same people, saying, alert on Stamps Marketplace, and saying exactly what happened. And apologizing for for making a mistake, apologizing for recommending something that was not legitimate, which, is definitely antithetical to what I try to do.
Right.
And I did get a couple responses immediately after sending that out. One person was like, oh, now I'm out money. And I said, again, I apologized to her, and somebody else who said, well, thank you very much for letting us know, which was,
right.
Yeah. And then, now I'm just going to move on, never use them again.
Yeah. Well, and I think that's such a good way to handle it. As soon as you realized what had happened, you apologized to sort of mitigate any possible damage and did what you could to help people without sort of obsessively trying to figure out how to manage it.
Right. Like, part of me wanted to figure out whether or not these were counterfeit stamps, which the postal inspection people don't offer any help with. And they say, in fact, they have a little video, and they say that they have a forensics lab, and they can figure out if it's fake, but mere mortals can't, and without special equipment. So I didn't worry about that. Although I did then read an article that said that regular actual stamps will glow with a blue light or a black light or UV light, but fake ones won't.
Oh, interesting.
But I didn't have one of those lights, so I didn't go out and buy one, although I thought about it for a moment.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and so, I mean, not to go too far down this rabbit hole, but what happens if you use counterfeit stamps?
I don't know. I've been using counterfeit stamps. This was probably my 6th order. But mostly they've been going on postcards to voters, so I have no way of knowing if they didn't get through.
Right.
Because there's no return address. I have sent out some checks and stuff, although I have other stamps too, right? My stamps are commingled. So So it does say there's in the stern warning that it's against the law to knowingly buy or use counterfeit stamps. Punishable up to 5 years in prison or something.
Oh, jeez.
Yeah. So I'm thinking that since I didn't knowingly use them, I'm not in trouble, but that I might be unwise to use them.
Right.
But I'm also thinking they aren't checking, I'm sure, every stamp. But
Yeah.
because they certainly look alike.
Right. Right. Like you didn't think that there was anything untoward about them.
No, they have all the same, logos and everything.
Right.
Yeah. So I guess it's really, if it's too good to be true, it's too good to be true.
Yeah, I guess that is a good lesson in that little adage there.
Yeah.
But it's hard when you make a mistake and like you feel so badly, like you kind of, I don't know. I sometimes just wish I could just make it go away. Like, let's pretend that didn't happen.
Yeah, maybe no one will notice.
Yeah.
Right.
But I think that, like I said, the way you handled it was so elegant, just to acknowledge the information you got, apologize, and move on.
Right. I mean, I think if it were a newer newsletter list or something, I'd be worried that people would think badly of me for having given bad advice. But it wasn't worth the risk. I mean, it was worth the risk of that. What am I trying to say? I'd rather not put people's money in harm's way. I'd rather take the hit.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's part of living authentically, right? I mean, I admit my mistakes all the time. I make so many mistakes. And that's also part of being older, I think. It's one of the beautiful things about getting older is that, that kind of stuff doesn't bother me.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm getting more and more in that mindset of like, oh, well, that happened. Is there anyone I need to apologize to? Or is that just like something that makes things a little more complicated for myself?
Right, exactly. Yeah, so it would have been, I could easily see if this had happened maybe even 10 years ago, I would have been tied up in knots over it. As it was, I was obviously not happy about it, and it was a little bit time consuming. But I definitely needed to make it as right as I could without, letting it take over my life.
Right. Right. And that's probably the key is to, rectify your mistake as well as you can without causing further harm even to yourself. And I think it's easy to not factor yourself into that equation. And, like, oh, I made this mistake, so now I have to, do whatever I can to make it right, even if it hurts me. And I'm not sure that is as helpful as we think it might be in the moment.
Right. Yeah. And in a situation like this, it really wasn't, I literally don't know what else I could have done. I mean, I definitely could have spent more time on it. But right. I don't know what else I could have done to make it right. So that helped make it easy to. Yeah.
And it's hard because it's something that you had just sort of been doing and didn't give a second thought to. But so, maybe that means that before you recommend something, you do just a quick search, since we know that there are bad people doing bad things out there, like counterfeiting stamps. Who knew?
Absolutely. Yeah. You know that this experience will mean that I will be double checking lots of things from now on. Yeah. Yeah.
Well, and I think that's another thing to remember, letting mistakes be a learning opportunity. And seeing if there's something that you can, add into your systems to help prevent them from happening again.
Yes, and it's certainly in all aspects of life, right? It's so true. I mean, I was thinking, my mind immediately went to, like business processes or when things happen with clients, if mistakes are made or what have you, figuring out how to avoid that without without going overboard and creating policies to mitigate something that it's never going to happen again.
Right. Or to, make such a convoluted policy or system or something that it takes you more time to try to prevent it in the future than the likelihood that it's going to happen again.
Right. Yeah. Without, it goes back to that definition of perfectionism.
That's exactly what I was thinking.
Yeah, without spending more time on it than it merits.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think the other thing to remember, too, is to go easy on yourself when you make mistakes. Mm-hmm. You felt bad, which, means that you're a caring human being who pays attention to other people. And also just, sort of self-flagellating over it doesn't help anyone.
Right. Yeah.
And it doesn't help prevent a mistake in the future. And I think that that's sort of our tendency that, sort of deep down we think like, well, if I beat myself up enough about this, I won't make the same mistake.
Right. When, in fact, a little self-reflection, figuring out how you can prevent it from happening in the future and moving on is probably more effective.
Right. Right. And, thinking about mistakes as a way of gathering information can be another helpful way to look at it. Like I was just thinking about, like when a toddler is learning how to walk, like they fall down, they make a lot of mistakes, they crash into stuff, and it just helps them gather information so that they can continue to do what they want to, so that they can continue learning how to do what they want to do.
Yeah, yeah. And it's true of dogs too.
Yeah. I was just thinking about, this is sort of a different way of thinking about mistakes, but the illustrated story I did, I guess it's been a year ago, where I hand wrote a story and then did little illustrations to go with it. And I made a lot of mistakes in my writing, wrong letters or misspelling things or whatever. And I just left them in. And I think, when I made the mistakes, I was like, oh, I have to fix this. But I realized that it didn't change anything. Fixing it would have taken more time and effort than the mistakes warranted.
Right. And the mistakes can add a little humanity to it, keeping it from being too... that illustrated story was amazing, and I'm shocked to learn there were mistakes in it, because I sure didn't notice any. But that's part of the beautiful thing of handmade.
Right. And people commented on it, and I loved seeing, when you made mistakes and that you left them in.
Nice.
That, which, you don't think about that, but it can be helpful to other people to see you make mistakes and not try to cover them up.
Absolutely. And as a professional organizer, I think a lot of people think professional organizers are, perfectly organized and don't mess up, and because we're organized. I love modeling imperfection to everybody because, of course, we're human, and maybe me more than others, but I find that with clients actually really respond very well to admission of mistakes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think one of the kindest things, I can't remember exactly what it was I had done, but this was some time ago, and it involved a conference call with, I had a client and then their client, or, it was sort of like 3 different groups, and I was sort of one removed from someone, and we didn't realize that the client of the client was still on the call.
Oh.
Yeah. And it wasn't horrible, but it was unfortunate. Mm-hmm. I can't remember what I said, but, and then they said, I'm still on the line.
That was nice of them.
Yeah. And But then they said, and apologized profusely, and they said, we've all done it. Don't worry about it.
Yeah.
And that was like the kindest thing, was to recognize that, like, we've all made mistakes like this. And, I can understand how it could happen. And, like, it's okay.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, that's great. Yeah, I think that the not attaching the promised attachment is the one that I'm always saying to people whenever that happens, and they apologize. I'm like, oh, please, I wish I had $1 for every time I've done that.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. So that's another way to think about mistakes, is being gracious when other people make them, mm-hmm. and compassionate, and recognizing, maybe you haven't made that exact mistake, but you've made other mistakes. So cutting yourself some slack, cutting other people some slack, and just assuming good intentions.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah, like that very kind person who wrote me about the counterfeit stamps. So she assumed that I wasn't knowingly passing off counterfeit stamps.
Right.
And
right.
I appreciated that so much. She could have easily just called me an idiot.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. And so, and you were able to respond in a different way because of the kindness that she showed in pointing that out.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So I think that's the thing that makes the most difference in managing mistakes, is to do it with kindness.
To yourself and to others.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Nice.
On all sides. So we would love to hear from you, our listeners. How do you handle it when you make a mistake? You can let us know on Facebook or Instagram at Getting to Good Enough. You can head over to gettingtogoodenough.com and leave a comment in the show notes. Or you can call 413-424-GTGE, that's 4843, and leave us a voicemail. Until next time, this is Shannon Wilkinson in Portland, Oregon.
And Janine Adams in St. Louis, Missouri.
And we hope that good enough is getting easier for you. I've gotten so much better at letting go of the mistakes I've made instead of perseverating on them. I had a hard time remembering some.
Well, that's a pretty good situation to be in.
Yeah, I'm enjoying it.